Hey there and welcome. Gosh, we are still working on the new studio. Green screen not installed yet, but will be very, very soon. A little bit of a technical glitch this morning. I didn't want to see my stream of my software, so I had to relaunch. Sorry about that. Let me just share my screen. Oh, welcome. Gosh, today we're going to talk about how we reach out and market ourselves directly to the decision maker. You know, the tragedy that I see in job search is so many people sitting on the internet, seeing something that may be right for them, clicking and sending that resume, and then hearing crickets. Nothing back, nothing back. Partly or mostly, I might say, or at least in my view, because they've sent it in to who I consider to be the wrong person. Now, if you would like to work within HR, my gosh, that's exactly the right department to send it to. But the only person that HR hires is an HR individual. For the rest of the organization, they simply facilitate the process. What I would like you to do is reach out directly to that decision maker that is in deep, deep pain, that is really looking for you as the solution. So today we're going to talk about outreach and messaging, especially during the pandemic and everything that we're going through, and how to really start the engagement engines of our process. It's kind of like pulling out that old-fashioned like pull cord lawnmower in the spring, as if it's been sitting all year, chokes a few times, doesn't want to start. We've got to keep pulling that cord until the engine fires up. Now, as we try to get our outreach and our engagement engine started, here is your guiding principle. Is this the most effective use of my time at this moment? This will keep you on track. When you get frustrated, when you really are not enjoying what you're doing, do I have to do this? You've decided intellectually to invest that time. This will keep you on track. What gets you to the quickest interview? What gets you to the quickest next step, the quickest consideration, or the quickest author? In case you haven't seen me before, John Crant, author, career coach, and speaker, resume and LinkedIn guru as well. So if your career brand is suffering from not being perceived at the right level, it's really from being too emotionally close to the story, not being able to see how to parse it out correctly and see it and tell it in a new way that's still absolutely truthful. If you need to work with someone, I know exactly who you should work with. Check out my packages over on my SelfRecruiter website right under the services tab. The job search itself is a sales process. We cannot get away from this, as much as we really may hate the fact that it's a sales process. But we have to think about it that way, because that's exactly what it is. Everybody is sitting at home doing the same darn thing you're doing, hitting that darn button. Almost never says apply, almost always says submit, until it's like a Friday night and we're so submissive waiting for that phone to ring. It's gonna ring, gonna ring, gonna ring. It'll be a telemarketer when it does. Then it leaves us in a pretty unhappy place, whether it's answering our phone or job search or whatever it might be. Take control back. The unhappiness comes from a lack of control. Think about the most important projects you've worked on in your entire career. Those took a lot of focus, a lot of effort, a lot of stress. This is the most important project you've ever worked on in your career. And job search is a sales process. So the right way to do it, from my view, and everything I'm teaching you here is my opinion, but the right way to do it is to flip the entire process on its head. Rather than endlessly chasing job postings like the dog running down the street chasing the car, or the dog chasing its tail and it's never going to catch it, why don't we upend the whole process by starting with 30 companies or organizations statistically perfect to hire you? I know you think, is that possible? Is that possible? Actually, it is. If you've ever worked with a great recruiter, if a great recruiter either hung up the phone or showed you to the exit of their office after the interview and they said, that's a great candidate, first thing the good recruiter does is they go and create this statistically perfect list. They want to increase their odds. They make this perfect list of 30 companies. Then they do not bother to look at those company websites. They do not bother to look at the job boards. They simply pick up the phone, call 30 managers at 30 companies. Every single time, 2, 3, or 4 out of 30 go, oh, I need someone just like this. Oh, you do? Tell me about your team. Tell me about the pain points. Tell me about what you're trying to solve. What we don't tell them about is the homework, the magic trick, how I come up with this. You know, that's your little secret. Now, once you have the statistically right organizations, the only thing we really don't know is, do they have an opening? And I don't think it's worth your time to go try to figure that out. what it is worth your time to do is to pick up the phone and call 30 of these companies, 30 managers, pitch yourself to them. And when they do have an opening, they're going to react because they're in pain. But we do need to warm up that audience, get it ready for us. So a complete job search plan, at least in my view, means we start by selecting these organizations or companies. Yes, you have to spend some time to stack rank them in the most valuable order to you. Why would you invest in going after easier to reach companies that aren't really the ones you want to reach? Let's get to those most difficult, most valuable ones, the ones that could add the most value to your background. Now, I mean, what John's saying isn't really possible. But if it was, how could I align the sun, the moon, the stars working backward to somehow discover this, discover the steps, devise the steps? Not very difficult. Even to create what I do now, when I started a little bit more than a decade ago, after leaving recruiting, I could envision this, but how do I get there? I'm going to need a book. I'm going to need articles. I'm going to need quotes in the media, all things you can put on a list and you can actually go and get until you have the right background. So by devising the steps needed working backwards, we can solve a great many things. Discover the decision makers. Well, no mystery there. I'll actually show you right in this lecture today how to do that pretty easy. Also, I teach that in my LinkedIn lecture and a few others. Overcome the objections. What was their title? Decision maker. You know what their job is? To object to you. You know, when I hear an objection, you know what happens inside? Because I understand what an objection is. Their job is to object to me. The objection is giving me a platform that I can step up on, a soapbox, really, where I can make my case. They want to hear how I overcome that objection with my brain power. That is called interviewing, persuading. And those decision makers are really excited about that. Overcome their objections, get a meeting, dazzle them, either get that job or have them create the job for you, or if necessary, kick the person to the curb that's not doing the job. Back to the concept of sales process. I know no one likes the fact that job search is a sales process, but we have to think of it this way. Let's look at this typical sales funnel. Nothing earth-shattering here. It's right off of Facebook. You can grab as many sales funnels as you need. Now, in terms of job search, you notice at the top where the most activity is, and that's the whole idea of a funnel. A lot of activity has to go in at the top to drip, 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 down to the little drops of perfume or nuggets of gold that might come out of the bottom. And along the way, we're building awareness, or we're creating the interest from the awareness, or maybe even moving to the next step of consideration about us, and maybe even getting toward an offer. Now, for most of the clients that I work with, I strongly encourage them to try to juggle to the point of getting multiple offers at the same time. That is not a fantasy, but it does take work. What it takes is juggling 10 open jobs that you're pursuing. Full steam, I'm pursuing these 10 open jobs all at the same time. That may not sound too difficult at first, on the first day of pursuing the 10 jobs, but by the time I outreach to all of these people, and then they don't respond, and I have to follow up again, and times 10 jobs and 25 to 30 profiles and all these things I will teach you coming up, it's a lot of activity. So juggling 10 open jobs is a great amount of activity. You may end up feeling a little bit like you're inside of a tornado, something important about to fly out. Learn to love that feeling. That means cash register. And in terms of job search, that means a potential offer maybe just around the corner. Now, our goal for juggling these 10 organizations and how far we should push is we're trying to generate one brand new interview per week. That is not a small order. I've certainly met some folks that haven't had an interview in 2 or 3 months. So getting to the point of generating one per week, that takes really good focused effort. How are we going to do it? Well, we're going to create this list of the 25 to 30 overall companies that are statistically perfect. But now for each and every company, let's imagine the first company is ABC Company. Great, ABC Company. I'm going to select 25 to 30 individuals at ABC Company. I'm going to either see or imagine where this job is that I'm aware of or I think is there. This need, maybe, if it's not an actual posting. And then I look up the food chain, up. Don't be shy, down, all the way down to admin level, left and right into a couple surrounding departments. This is really about surrounding yourself with all the people that you would very likely interact with on a normal work day. or at least every single week, you probably interact with all 25 of these people. Every one of them is experiencing pain. They're aware of this need not being filled, and every one of them could respond positively to you. So what we do is we select these people to warm up the audience behind the firewall of the company. Simply opening their profiles causes this marketing effect of having looked at you. 6 people have looked at you. Who's looked at me? Who's looked at me? If you haven't looked at that before on LinkedIn, you certainly will now. And once you start looking, it's very difficult to stop looking. So we can use that as a marketing mechanism to put ourselves right in the brain of the audience that surrounds that need. Now, that's simply opening the profiles. Step 2 is to ask them to connect. I'm certainly never going to mention this job that I'm looking at, because then some might not want to connect with me. Oh, don't bother me. So it has to be very low friction and something that says, you don't know me, I'm professionally appropriate. Here's a little stroke to your ego. And really, it's as simple as this. I like to connect with other professionals in our niche or niche, depending how we like to say that. And of course, I'd love to add you to my professional network on LinkedIn. Don't know me, professionally appropriate, a little stroke to the ego. Out of the 25 to 30, you probably get 10 to 12 acceptances pretty quickly. Oh, I know you want them all. That's not really what it's about. Each of these, the opening, the asking to connect, that's taking a fish hook and sliding a worm on the fish hook, tossing it out into the pond. So we've done it twice now, and being brave enough for it to wiggle around, waiting for them to click on your name, which pops open your sales brochure. That's the actual goal. Begin to warm up that audience. Oh, we need a person just like this. You do? Now, without waiting, we've already opened, we've already asked to connect, and certainly we did not wait for an answer. The answer actually is completely irrelevant. This is a sales process. There is no waiting. Open, ask to connect. Now I simply look back at the 25 to 30, and I think, well, who do I think? Because really, your opinion is the only one that really matters. Who do I think are the 3, 4, or 5 people very likely to be involved in the discussion for hiring a person like myself? Now, for those individuals, I need to capture that information first, and maybe even some of the 25 to 30. We'll show you how to capture that on some of the forms that are over on my website. They're all free, by the way. So just to recap, before we take it to the next level, we're going to choose the organizations or companies and begin there. We select the 25 to 30 individuals to warm up the audience and pop open their LinkedIn profiles. We now take a second hook, second worm, ask them to connect. We're really trying to draw attention to ourselves. And now, without waiting, we're going to direct email, not within InMail, not within LinkedIn, a direct email directly out to the decision makers, which are also part of the 3, 4, or the 25 to 30 we've already opened and asked to connect. Now, these decision makers, it's as simple as Dear Jack, Dear Jim, Dear Jill, by first name, each as if they're the only person in the world. You can't be afraid of, oh, what if this person answers? What if that person answers? What if they talk to each other behind the scenes? As if that's a bad thing about you when you're compelling. It's not a bad thing. So we're going to email out these people and introduce ourselves. More scripts coming up slightly later. Now we book a meeting, we sell and repeat. It's a sales process. Now you're uncovering information. You are uncovering knowledge about people, players, things going on with these companies. This is your field. This is your field this time round, and very likely your field next time round when you make a job change. Capture that information that can be useful to you. These people, though they may not stay at these companies, they will stay in the industry, and they will go to all sorts of other companies, and this background information will help you. All those forms, by the way, I'll give you the link. You can get those over on my SelfRecruiter website. That's just under the advice tab, and just look for the job search management system. You can just download it for free. Now, perception has to change. It's a pandemic. 60-70% of the white collar work is being done remotely right now, even though they're trying to get us back to the office, back to the office, back to the office. Well, someday when it's safe, but I read a lot of data. It's not safe today. But our script is going to have to change, because if we're not really in the office, then they're concerned over how effective we can be in our role in a remote situation. You may have never worked remotely and in a panic about that, but you probably have some experience with these kind of scenarios you see on screen here. Well, this is a demonstration of being effective at a distance. It's all in about how you tell that story. Or even if not that, you might speak with customers or clients. You might do conference calls or conferences or webinars. All of this is demonstrating value at a distance. So a little bit of how you tell your story probably has to change. But ultimately, we have to get to the decision maker. Who is it that makes these decisions about you? Now, let's be clear. We're not simply after the decider. That, of course, is very, very important. But many times the decider doesn't decide on their own. I had a client years ago, regional sales manager in Atlanta, and this person, their whole style was they would get it down to the final 3 that they would hire any one of those 3. And then they would send those 3 up to the Eastern VP. And then whoever Mr. Eastern VP would go, well, Eric, I mean, I like number 2, but it's your decision. You should do whatever you like. Who does Eric hire every time? Number 2. I would take any of the 3. But why would I take one that if my boss is picking one, it's probably the one, but it's your choice. Well, if that one doesn't quite deliver, I've got a little coverage here. If I choose somebody else and they don't deliver, well, Eric, I told you it was number 3, if that's your choice. And then that person doesn't deliver, that is going to bite me. So let's go back and think about these decision makers, no matter what field we're in. I think you understand how your section of the company is structured. Pretty easy to run up the title list to rebuild that org chart. A lot of detail on rebuilding the org chart over in the LinkedIn lecture. Make sure to watch that one. And then these company development sheets. This is equity you're building in your industry, the knowledge you want to carry forward, not just for this job search and change, but for all future ones. Now, where else, besides our typical process, where else can we get people to call or names people to reach out to? Well, the old-fashioned way, this is how the salespeople always did it. They'd look through books, articles, blogs, press releases, company websites, and they would scrape up those names that are mentioned. And then they'd call those people, and congratulate them on the story. And that person, by the way, knows exactly what you're doing. And it works because we're human beings. We can't resist it. Oh, Jack, I saw your article in the Wall Street Journal. You were mentioned doing so-and-so. They can't resist it. So that's a very typical way a salesperson might do it. And a job seeker is a salesperson. You have to sell yourself. Referrals, that's another great way to get things. When you outreach, and I'm describing outreach, you're either going to get or not get your primary goal. Maybe they don't have an opening, but they do have a need for someone like you. And even more than that, they understand you. You could get referrals to other top performers in the industry that may have left. That could also help you. So referrals are something that will help you a lot. Most times, we're going to do a reverse search of LinkedIn using our own understanding of the org chart setup and typically how we might approach these companies. And from that, let's hop over to LinkedIn. I'm going to show you how a reverse search works. Top of LinkedIn, it's the same search box, unified search box, same on every page. So I simply, in this scenario, I'm searching for Informatica, big database middleware company. Now, as I type it, I'm going to get this drop-down list. Don't click on the drop-down list. That is a trip down the rabbit hole. Simply type what you like, hit enter, and look at this. You get this nice secondary sorting process right here. Now, I am looking for the employees of Informatica, but as long as I'm here, I'm really brainstorming because there must be some other companies that are somehow not on my radar. And so let's see companies under Informatica. Oh, I don't see it. Oh, there it is, hidden under the More tab. Companies. Show me companies. 34,000 companies. What's going on here? There are not 34,000 Informaticas. Actually, after a few dozen of them or whatever there are here down the list, once those run out, who are the rest of these? I could tell you. This used to be one of my fields. Everybody down on this list is a system integrator. They either resell or install Informatica software. If I am statistically right to work for Informatica, I'm very likely statistically right to work for a great number of these companies. Now, if you didn't connect those dots already, let me just connect them for you. Quite literally, you could put every single employer one at a time in here that you've worked for and see who else might like to hire that expertise. Even if you're sitting scratching, why are they on the list? There must be something about your background, either the experience or who you sold to or who your vendors or clients, there's some connection there. But originally, of course, I am trying to find the employees of Informatica. So let's go back and say, oh, no, no, show me the people. Show me the people. What do we get? 2.5 million. Cold and in the ground before I get through that list. Should also mention I'm only on the free version of LinkedIn. I get a lot of value. Everything I'm teaching you here, we can do in the free version. You know what I really need? Because it's problem solving, brainstorming. I really need the ones in the US and not like 3 years ago working for Informatica. I need them currently working for Informatica. Really US, really, they're okay, 1,615 results. Now it's much, much better, much, much better. I can't look at 1,600 profiles either. They'll cut me off very, very quickly. So I'm going to have to put on a little more of a thinking cap. Maybe it's a VP. I think it's a VP that's going to hire me. Look at that, just a simple VP. Really US, really Informatica. What do I get? 75 VPs. A lot of chiefs in that company. Let me think here. Maybe it's a director. Maybe it's a director. Director, really US, really Informatica. Currently, what do I get? What do I get? 228 directors. No. I have it. You know why? Because it's problem solving. You have to problem solve to get to the right answer. You know what it is? It's a sales director, and not just within the US, even in the free version, right down to greater New York City, currently working for Informatica. What do I get? 3. Fantastic. Now I've got 3 individuals. John said 3 to 5. So I made it. I made it to the minimum. But if you make it to the maximum, your odds are better. Let me put on my thinking cap once again. You know, maybe there's a sales VP, not just a VP, but maybe there's a sales VP, not just a sales director. Really greater New York City, really Informatica currently. What do I get? 2 more. Now I'm up to 5. I've got it. I've got 3 to 5 people. All 5 of these people could very likely be involved in the discussion to hire a person like myself. That's what my conclusion is. And now I'm going to reach out, connect, and do all those fun things. Now, this is the same process to develop your 25 to 30 people. Along the way, I would have chosen the other people also. Many of them are just going to say connect, which I love. I just hit that button. But then some say InMail, send InMail. First off, please do not send an InMail unless you understand what an InMail is, which is spam. Literal definition of spam. It is paid email. It may not seem like it to you, but I have well over 1,000 unopened nonsense spam messages on my LinkedIn inbox, just clogging it silly. So much so that I can't even see the really good messages. So I hope you directly email me if you'd like to talk with me. But I still want to connect with Nick here. I'm frustrated. But if I loaded his profile, yeah, they're going to frustrate me again by saying send InMail. But if I just click that ... they just hid the little connect thing. Although I'll put it behind the tree, they'll never see it over here. There it is. Here's your message. You write one time ever, copy and paste forevermore. Also notice it never says anything about looking for a job, which could scare people away. I like to connect with other professionals in our niche or niche. It's a sales process. So we're going to connect with people. We're going to open these profiles. We're going to warm them up. We're going to get them excited to talk about us even behind the scenes. They know the pain. Oh my gosh, I saw this guy today. He looks right for our such and such. And then I just reach right out to these decision makers. I capture the whole thing. And now I've got equity built into what I've created. Now let's get over to the script. Hi, this is John. I'd like you to hire me. How'd you get my number? Take me off your phone. Security. Please don't call me again. Okay. Hopefully not quite like that. That won't be greeted very well. They're going to kick you to the curb if you show up with some nonsense message like that, which is all about you. This is a date. You have to show up with a message about them. Now, how to construct this outreach? I'd prefer you do a 1-2 marketing campaign. Now, you can get about 90% of the way there just through email. And I know so many people are going, great, I don't want to pick up the phone. But let me encourage you to pick up the phone. The big difference is if you write the email, which is almost identical to what you're verbally going to say, or almost identical to what you might verbally leave on a voicemail. I write the email, I have it up on screen, but I don't send it. I could send it, but I don't. It's ready to send. Now, if calling is part of my process, I'm going to pick up the phone and call that individual. Not brain surgery to get almost anybody's phone number, work through the company directory, things like that are pretty easy. Get to the person, get to their phone line. In almost all cases, it's going to go to voicemail. So why am I so up on having to call? because they cannot hear your passion in an email. They can hear passion in a voicemail. And if you do your voicemail correctly, all the voicemails around your voicemail will just pale in comparison. Here's how it works. We've already written the email. It's already open. It's ready to go. It's identical, essentially, to what I want to say. I dial the phone. They don't answer, and it goes beep. And now I leave the message into the voicemail. But you know what I don't do? I don't go into voicemail voice. Oh, hi, Jack. It's John. What's our voice doing up the clouds? Why do we do that? When it goes beep, you go, hey, good morning, Jack. Almost register dropping, the opposite of what people think. Oh, good morning, Jack. It's John Crant. You know, I just had to reach out and introduce myself to you. Do you notice even on the message, there's no rushing? Take your leisurely time, but be valuable. I just had to reach out. Whole message we're going to give you shortly. Just know that if you leave the message and everything goes well, nothing went wrong, no foot in your mouth, click send on the email. If you somehow messed up your message, can't re-record it, now you're embarrassed, don't run away. This is a lesson you need to learn. Click in front of that email and now recover. Sorry about that voicemail, I thought I'd be able to re-record. I did not want you to lose sight of the fact that I just had to reach out and introduce myself to you. Rest of the message is still coming. This 1-2 marketing campaign allows them, even if they answer the phone live, only difference if they answer the phone live. Hi, good morning, this is Jack. And I go, hey, good morning, Jack. Click send. It's John Crant. How are you this morning? I'm fine, John. How can I help you? You know, I'd sent you an email, but I don't think you'd seen it because I just sent it. And then I start on my script, and you know what they're doing right now. They're over looking at that email. And now my message is imprinting visually into their brain from the front and going in through the ears. It's a double hit on the marketing, and it's very, very effective. This is about utilizing your soft skills, your nuance, your emotional intelligence pieces to be able to win someone over. The style is like talking to a dear old friend you haven't seen in 5 years. You've got to give yourself that permission. And every single person, I don't care if it's the CEO of the company or the person that cleans the CEO's office, every single person is an absolute equal to you. Never speak up to anyone, certainly never speak down to anyone. Every single one like a dear old friend. Really, all of our outreach, all of our communication, whether it be email or anything else, all becomes part of this brand that helps us be seen as the standout. Even how we handle the message, and they listen to our message and they just go, wow, he's just speaking to me. I mean, I feel like I have to call this guy back. Absolutely. So what do we do better? That's where we need to center the discussion. Yes, it's about them, but also there has to be some trinket or some carrot we're dangling that can really secure this interview for us. Don't forget who your competitor is. Don't forget that they're very persuasive. This is part of how we take control of the entire discussion. So let's not be afraid of that. Now, if we're going to create interest correctly, it has to be about them. That's part of the date piece of it. No matter what we use to create the interest, casual, direct, indirect, all of it can be effective. I've had people do outreach with direct Twitter messages. I've had people secure their interview with a Facebook message. A little dangerous for most folks to use Facebook for career. But I have 2, 3, 4% of my clients that might use it that way, and they're very disciplined in how they use it. Biggest thing we're trying to get to is the concept of not creating a one-off communication. One outreach, and I expect that's going to solve it. No. We have all these things on the list that are potential communication avenues. We're trying to open up this interest in us and open up this communications channel that really will stay open. It's an influence channel, and that's going to help us quite a bit. So let's analyze a couple of different messages here. I'm going to highlight this so you can just see what it looks like right now. I wanted to introduce myself. I'm Jack Smith. I'm an expert at A, B, and C. I'm looking for a new opportunity. I'd be a valuable asset for your company. I'd like to meet with you. That's a lot all about John. I'm really not interested in John. I'm putting fires out all over here. I don't want to hear about you. I want to hear about me, my company, what's going on here. So even though this sounds pretty normal and okay, there's no value for the listener here. You forgot that it's an actual date. Who really cares what you're looking for? You're interrupting my day. You forgot the customer service end, that you were to remove everything. I need to somehow visualize what you do that could be valuable to me. That's how we create interest. Now take a look at this one. Oh, what I do is very interesting. You know what architects are very good at? Architecture. You know what they're not very good at? Running their business. In fact, that's what I do. I've run the back end of several architectural firms now. In fact, I'm looking for a new opportunity right now. This was the elevator pitch for one of my clients that had lost their job. Notice, let's highlight it up so you can see how it needs to be focused when we speak it. This is how you tell a great story in 30 to 60 seconds. There's absolutely no detail of what this person does. That's not necessary. Broad strokes, and everybody gets the transferable skill that could be valuable. I want you to think about how you distill your narrative down to something so concise, really, as that. So let's take a look at this next one here. Gosh, we're going to clear something out of my visual here. I just had to reach out and introduce myself to you. I'm so excited by what I see going at XYZ company. Congrats, by the way. I saw a very nice feature I read in the Wall Street Journal. You know, my background, here's the carrot. You know, my background includes handling similar launches I'd read about in the article and really handling all those issues I'm guessing your team might be experiencing with this launch. All we need now is a little bit of a trade. I'd love to come in and meet with you and share how we overcame launch issues. Then you have to be brave enough to go for the jugular. I have an opening on my calendar. Words are very, very important. Opening on my calendar Wednesday at 10 a.m. And then we do a handoff like a puppet master, handing off control and solving the only real problem, which is don't waste my time. Don't waste my time. Might that work for a brief meeting? Oh, brief. I can handle a brief meeting. Might makes them feel in control, as if there's any control on their part. There is one last line that has to be part of the outreach message, because your job is, as a salesperson in this process, you have to set expectations. The very last line should say something like, looking forward to a great discussion, dash. I had a client do almost a similar message, and there's like, it's not working. So what's something's wrong? Well, what are you saying? I'm saying what you said. Send it to me. And it's all I, small little things, including the very close of the last line. I'm looking forward to a great discussion. Who cares what you're looking forward to? There's a reason we truncate it and start it with looking forward to a great discussion. We cannot keep hitting the I'm. So give yourself some literary license to make it about them and keep that momentum moving. Small changes change perception on everything, including all of your messaging. Now, you already saw this one. We're going to get right by that one. Got by this one. A couple of slides that didn't belong in this one. Sorry about that. So back to the idea of a sales process as we wrap up thinking about how this outreach works. Your message has to be just front loaded with all sorts of value for them. Not what's exciting about you. It's what you see over there that's exciting, which is about them. It's an ever so slight difference in how you're being persuasive. Let's get right down to a script. You've got 30 seconds to live or die. And in this case, dying sounds like, how'd you get my number? Take me off your phone. Never call me again. Security. Okay. 30 seconds before they're going to make that decision about us. So you have 30 seconds to be delivering amazing value. This is part of the job search management system. You can just download it and fill this out on your own. This text on the left will remind you of what I'm teaching you now as you write your script. Let me go through the structure for you. Maybe I'll even make this one slightly larger, a little bit easier for you to see. So I'm going to greet them. Now, I taught recruiters how to do this for many, many years. And I'd have recruiters and I'd be like, well, we're going to greet them. We're going to wait for the response. We're going to acknowledge their response, good, bad, or ugly. Can't pretend you didn't hear it. And we're going to tell them about our educational background. If we went to one of those very, very special schools, there's only this many of them. If you went to one of those, if you think you went to one of those, but it's not one of those, you didn't go to one of those. Sorry, yours is still special, but it's not that special. Leave it to the side for the moment. Get right down to 2 or 3 key things that would make them jump out of their chair if they had that asset, that deliverable, and then go for the close. That's a sales term. Simply means ask for what you'd like and ask for agreement to it. requires asking the agreement, that's where they're going to say no. Don't be afraid of a no. You're there to sell. Now, let me let you hear how this should sound in an ordinary world. And we're going to get, after the greeting, we're going to get one of three responses. We're going to get the normal response we might like. I'm fine, John. How can I help you? Love it. Thank you so much. Or we're going to get a trained dog responding. I'm fine, John. How can I help you? I'll take it. I'll take it. Set me up to keep going. Or you're going to get something you really don't want. I'm terrible. I'm sure you can figure out the nice ones. Let's take the terrible one. Hey, good morning, Jack. It's John Crant. How are you doing this morning? I'm terrible. Well, Jack, let's see if we can change that. You know, I just had to reach out and introduce myself to you. I'm so excited by what I see going on at XYZ company. You know, I saw the Wall Street Journal article on your new such and such initiative. Oh, those things are always so good to get. When I was back at ABC company, I handled a very similar launch. You know, I'd really love to come in and share with you how we tackled all those issues I'm guessing your team might be experiencing. I have an opening on my calendar Tuesday at 10 a.m. Might that work for a brief meeting if this is all live? That's essentially how it sounds. Notice that just because they said it was terrible, it didn't change my demeanor or tempo or anything. I just inserted a line, very confident, with some gravitas. Well, Jack, let's see if we can change that. And then without speeding up, I just kept right on to my mission. That's what you have to do. You have to stay focused. This is how you start the conversation. This is not how the conversation ends. This is simply the beginning. I'm going to come a little bit larger here. Can I call you back to bother you? That's not a very popular question. Why don't you do something else? Why don't you call them back because you have an agreement for a relationship? Now, I was taught this as a recruiter. And when I was taught this, my brain was going, are you kidding me? This sounds ridiculous. Why would this work? It doesn't make any sense. And then I tried it and boy, it does really work. Point is, you're not very likely to call these people back for any reason. Statistically, you're never going to call that person back. But some of these people you might want to call back for something that could help you in the future. Going through this creating a agreement for a relationship, what it does is even if you never call them back, boy, do they remember you, and it bonds you a little bit more tightly. You'll have lots of good things that come out of this. So we're going to highlight this just so you can see what we're really getting at here and how we charm and disarm and dangle why this would be valuable to Jack, the manager, who really exists in a bubble of only their own information. They would love this outside information. That's why this works. Jack, let me ask you, from time to time, I'll run into something, something quite interesting, some situation when speaking with others in the industry, others. It might be helpful to run a scenario by you. Would it be okay if I were to give you a call for your opinion or advice if something interesting were to come up in discussions? They can't resist because they need to know what's in that discussion also to stay on top of their field while they're putting out all the fires that are all around them. I never really believed it would work. I was so amazed how well it works. And yet we don't sit and call these people back over and over and over again, not unless we have a strategic piece of value we want to extract. So we're going to balance our outreach and communications after this so we don't burn out the assets. We're going to build trust, and every step of the way, so much more value. We could even stick them in our shoes, looking out of our eyes, and ask them for our opinion. Jack, with your background and position within the industry, you must hear things. You must know things. Where would you look for an opportunity right now? Or Jack, if you had my background, what am I missing? Where would you look? I'd look at ABC company. Why didn't Jack say that earlier? It's not Jack's job to think of things to tell me. It's actually my job to cause Jack to think of things to tell me and to create the desire for Jack to want to tell me those things. So you have to think about how you just change your conversation and your language every little bit. You're either going to get or not get your primary goal of booking an interview. That's not the end. What else can you get from this call? What else could I discover about this person's knowledge? What other referrals could I get? What other information about what's going on in the industry? What else can I say? What can I leave them thinking? What are they thinking about me? what else can I do? There must be one more thing that I can do. To recap, the outreach steps are actually pretty simple. I'm going to start by reversing everything, starting with a list of 30 companies statistically perfect to hire me. Then I simply open 25 to 30 people that surround that job, triggering a marketing event. Now I ask them to connect the same copy and paste message across all 25 to 30. I don't wait for a single answer. That part's really irrelevant. And now I simply pick the 3, 4, 5 people out of that pool of 25 to 30. I reach out to them individually as if they're the only person in the world until I win them over. I book that meeting and I go after what I want. And I have to repeat. And I need to be doing this with 10 organizations at the same time. These are all little figurative nudges, little coaxing mechanisms. We started with this. I didn't really mention it. Don't let somebody else think for yourself. There's a lot of advice here, a lot of directions, but you need to take it in and align whatever is really right to work with your methods. And you have to put down that smart device and get out of the back seat and get behind the wheel, or we're not really going to get where we want. We're going to get stuck. Don't get stuck. Let's get over what's holding us back. We're going to have to know our story, become excited about our story, get out there and pitch our story. It is our job to make the very best case as to why they should hire us. Actually, that's my Thursday lecture, Interview Intervention. Really, our job is to go to the interview to teach them how to select us. So, we need to be sure we are ready to sell. We've drunk just enough of the Kool-Aid that you believe in yourself more than the next 5 or 6 people believe in themselves, because they all are after that job. Brings us to the very end of today. This is marketing yourself to the decision maker with direct outreach. The only mistake is to not try direct outreach. Doesn't mean it will go right for you every single time. These are all measured risks. Some people may not like it. If you were a manager, maybe you personally wouldn't like that. But you have to play the odds. There may be 10 to 15% of the people that might not like this direct outreach. But what's the flip side of that? That's 85 to 90% of the people that will really respond positively to this. Those are the odds you have to pin your future to. Those 10 to 15% that really didn't like this outreach, those folks are dinosaurs that will be gasoline in someone's tank before too long. So let's be brave enough to maybe take a step or two and try something new. Just a heads up, tomorrow's lecture will not be at 11 a.m., even though it says it on my schedule. It will be at a different time, which I haven't quite worked out yet. I will post a quick note as soon as I know the correct time. I have a little bit of a dental appointment that cannot be missed tomorrow, so I have to move things around for that. Thursday is my 11 a.m. interview intervention session, and also Friday at 11 a.m. is my Ask SelfRecruiter live Q&A. If you're not getting your job search questions answered, send them in. Send them in to ask@selfrecruiter.com. That's ask@selfrecruiter.com. And the very best questions are in every one of my Ask SelfRecruiter sessions. Thank you, guys. If you need help, if your career brand needs to be elevated, all my services are over on my SelfRecruiter website, right under the Services tab. And if you need to have a quick chat before you really know which package is the right one for you, feel free to reach out by email and we'll set up a time to talk. Thank you guys for joining in today, and take control of your job search. Take care.